Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, February 5th, 2019. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. Priority has been given to the environment and climate change in this year's budget. Also, this year, several increases will be seen on items that are expected to generate revenue for the country. These were announced as part of the 2019 budget presentation in Parliament yesterday by Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez. We hear more in this report from Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
Over $82 million have been allocated in the 2019 budget to deal with climate change, which poses a long-term threat to the country. During his presentation of the 2019 budget in Parliament on Tuesday, Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez said in addition to this, another $56 million have been allocated to deal with other environmental issues.
Climate change. This involves recovery and rehabilitation of damaged infrastructure, investing in resilience and adaptation, setting aside resources to prepare for natural disasters, adopting renewable energy and clean energy technologies, and strengthening our laws and practices related to environmental protection. The 2019 capital budget shows, if you look at the estimates, a total of over $56 million allocated to the functional classification environmental protection.
Gonzalez also noted that emphasis will also be placed on agriculture and education, which will see more skills training opportunities available to the youths. In addition, he said 5 private sector investments will continue this year, which includes the completion of the Clear Harbor Call Center, Buckerman Bay Resort reconstruction, and the Black Sand Bay Resort. This year also, the medicinal cannabis industry will come on stream, which is expected to yield a projected $5 million.
This year, we have taken account of the time required to establish and operationalize the authority, the steps involved in conducting due diligence of applicants, the licensing and the establishment of cultivation and production facilities that can meet the necessary legal and technical requirements, and the actual production and export of medicinal products. As such, 2019 revenues will be primarily derived from licensing fees, although we hope that sufficient traditional cultivators take advantage of the amnesty provisions of the cannabis legislation to generate some level of export revenue this year.
On the fiscal side of things, there will be an increase in tobacco, alcohol, and artificially sweetened or sugar-added beverages.
The excise will increase from $1.55 per 100 sticks to $2.75 per 100 sticks. Unmanufactured tobacco refuse, the rate will increase from 6% to 10%. Cigars, etc., the excise duty will increase from 14% to 20%. Other manufactured tobacco and tobacco substitutes from 6% to 10%. And other tobacco products from 12% to 18%. These measures are expected to yield additional revenue of $500,000. That's all? Or other sweetening matter or flavored, the rate will increase from 10% to 20%. Aerated beverages, excise will increase from 10% to 20%. These measures are expected to yield approximately $2.4 million in additional revenue. Alcoholic beverages. Undenatured ethyl alcohol with an alcoholic strength by volume of 80% or higher, the rate will increase by 10.7%. Brandy, whiskey, gin, vodka, and rum in bottles of strength not exceeding 46% by volume, excise will increase by 20%.
There will also be increase on fuel and adjustments to the aircraft landing and packing fees at the Argyle International Airport.
In an effort to meet these demands for more spending on roads, healthcare, and environmental protection, the government intends to increase the excise on gasoline and diesel as follows. Motor spirit gasoline, the current rate $2.50, the proposed rate $3. Gas oils other than diesel oil, the current rate $1.50, the proposed rate $2.10. It is important to note that this revised excise, and indeed the price of fuel at the pump in St. Vincent and the Grenadines generally, remains low relative to our neighbors in the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States.
This year also, 8,000 street lights will be replaced with LED fixtures, which will be energy efficient at a cost of $3.1 million. Gonzalez said the discussion to ban sand mining will continue this year as the government seeks to safeguard its environment. This would mean that the sand would have to be imported, hence an automatic increase in construction costs. Meanwhile, Minister Gonzalez said public servants' increase this year will amount to $6.9 million, which includes pensions and NIS contributions.
20, with a salary 4.5% over their 2018 baseline. As a Labour government, we will continue to partner with Vincentian workers to enhance their working conditions, minimum wages, salaries, and tax obligations within the bounds of prudence and our own economic circumstances. This is a time-honored and oft-proven pledge on which the workers of St. Vincent and the Grenadines can justifiably rely. By the same token, we intend in 2019 to advance materially our discussions with unions on the unavoidable issues of pension reform, worker productivity, and performance-based enhancements or incentives. These discussions, once concluded and implemented, will further ensure the sustainability, quality, and output of our worker-centric policies and programs.
Reporting for SVGTV News, I'm Larissa Pogsley-Kidd.
Meanwhile, in his contribution to the debate on the 2019 budget, Opposition Leader Godwin Friday said the budget lacks substance on what is needed to generate economic growth for SVG. He told Parliament today that many of the work programs of the various ministries have been divided up and repackaged under the new heading Renewal at 40 to give them gloss, but they are what he described as old wine in new bottles. In his presentation of the budget yesterday, Minister of Finance Camilo Gonsalves said Renewal at 40 is a wide-ranging and multifaceted program of reflection and reinvention that ranges from the cultural to the infrastructural, which will spread across the various ministries. However, Dr. Friday said there is nothing new to be undertaken with this program.
Renewal 40 is a referral to independence, and everybody, want to be patriotic and celebrate independence, so to embrace anything that suggests that we're doing something to celebrate our independence. That, I suppose, was part of the plan. All of these grand-sounding things in $1 billion budget. But when all is said and done, Mr. Speaker, we have, with all the projects, all the initiatives and the grand-sounding words and hype, we had for 2018 an estimated growth rate of 2.5%. Then at page 8 of the estimates, we see that the IMF has a projection of 2.3% growth for 2019, while the World Bank, a venerable institution, says that the growth rate would be a more modest 1.6% for 2019.
The opposition leader said given the low economic growth projected for SVG in 2019, Vincentians should expect nothing new or different, noting that something must be done differently to jumpstart the economy.
The point, Mr. Speaker, this budget, for all its gloss and for all the attempt by the new minister to differentiate himself from the previous Minister of Finance, the substance remains the same. There is something of the heft that is lacking in it. It lacks substance. What it needs to generate growth. As they say in Corinthians, a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. No love in the budget, Mr. Speaker. No love at all, because the people, the young people whom the minister proclaimed to love so much, they are still confronted with the same old budget. Same old predictions of growth.
Dr. Friday further pointed out that the last time there was a $1 billion budget was during the election year of 2015, and that he was not surprised with the number of plans outlined in this year's budget to be rolled out by the government. The opposition leader said he is almost certain many of them will not be implemented.
Because, as we have noted again, whereas last year the deficit, the overall deficit, which is filled in with the category of financing called other receipts or the capital receipts, whereas last year that was $160.1 million. Million. This year it has ballooned up to $198.1 million. So in short, that is the area where the government doesn't really know where the money is coming from, and in fact knows that the money isn't coming. The minister has said that there is some funding to be had from the World Bank for budget support, and that will be put in that category. But that would be a record-breaking year for earnings of other receipts, because most years it's $3 or $4 or even less million that are collected. And so what results from that, and it's important that I say it again here because it contextualizes a lot of what I say later on. What follows from that, Mr. Speaker, is that a lot of what is in the budget cannot be implemented, both on the capital side and on the recurrent side.
Lawyer Sholan Zita Banwell says the recent ruling by the Court of Appeal in favor of the SVG Teachers Union was a victory for all teachers and public servants. Banwell was speaking at a joint media conference hosted today by the SVG Teachers Union and the Public Service Union to sensitize the public on the ruling made by the OECS Court of Appeal on January 29th regarding the forced resignation of the 3 teachers and their rights relating to pensions. Those affected were Addison Bash Thomas, Kenroy Johnson, and Elvis Daniel, who were not rehired as teachers after the unsuccessfully contested 20 general elections on the NDP ticket. Highlighting the ruling of the Court of Appeal, Banwell, who was on the legal team of the SVG Teachers Union, said the court agreed that the 3 teachers had a legitimate expectation for leave to contest the general elections and to be reinstated if they were unsuccessful.
The High Court claimed or would have ruled and said that Article 16 seeks to amend the Constitution. The Court of Appeal disagreed. It said it does not do that. It also said that it cannot qualify a public servant to be elected as a representative. It is not within the purview or the purpose of Article 16. As I said before, the court simply said that it's only about leave. The other thing that I can move on to, so that dealt with 3 components: whether or not Article 16 offended or violated Section 21(6)(d), 2, whether the teachers had a legitimate expectation for leave. The court says yes, that there was a legitimate expectation for leave, and not only leave, but to be reinstated in their jobs having lost at the polls.
Banwell said the court's decision relating to pension for the 3 former teachers was another area where the legal team was able to secure a victory.
The other thing that we looked at was looking at the constitutional rights of the appellants, and that has to do with their loss of property, which is their pension. The court agreed that at paragraph 55, it says the critical issue arising in respect to the appellant's property rights violation argument concerned pension benefit. The appellants are entitled to their pension benefit in the absence of some lawful basis for deprivation. None has been advanced in this case. So there we are. Congratulations to the teachers union and the 3 teachers, and congratulations to St. Vincent again and his public service.
Banwell said the case indicated that the government was using the laws as both a shield and sword, and said it is time that the relevant laws are in place to allow for a wider cross-section of persons to run for political office.
It talks about it was open to the government to initiate the requisite steps for Parliament to prescribe exceptions and limitations to disqualification imposed by Section 26(1)(d). At paragraph 27, it says that the intendment of the forward-thinking Article 16 of the collective agreement is surely a step in the right direction. At paragraph 29, it talks about, it says that it boils down to the government initiating the requisite action to enable Parliament to prescribe necessary exceptions, limitation to achieve the beneficent gleaned from Article 16 of the collective agreement. And at paragraph 29 also, it says the critical point is that without Parliament prescribing exceptions, limitation, the disqualification of public officers, disqualification to be elected imposed by 26(1)(d) of the Constitution would operate as a bar. No interpretation of Article 16 can change that position. I am only saying all of that to simply say that anyone who's accusing the union of not doing what it needs to do to ensure that the laws are changed simply says you can mobilize, but at the end of the day, it's Parliament who has to create the necessary legislation to ensure that all public servants can participate in general elections without loss of any benefit.
And 2 of the embattled former teachers, Kenroy Johnson and Alison Bash Thomas, expressed relief for the ruling of the Court of Appeal in their favor. Both, who have over 30 years of teaching experience, used the opportunity to highlight the challenges they faced over the years and thanked those who supported them through their struggles.
I never dreamt that my career, which I was very proud of, would end this way. That night, I still remember it, I cried for hours. And since then, I've been carrying much emotional pain. It has been very hard. This ruling has served to relieve me of much of that burden that I've been carrying. It is for this reason why I'd be eternally grateful to Mr. Robinson and the leadership of the St. Vincent and Grenadines Teachers Union, and to the legal team of Mr. Jomo Thomas, Ms. Sherlyn Banwell, hope I got that name right, and Mr. Ruggles Ferguson, for your belief that we were wronged.
I share similar experiences to Mr. Johnson. It wasn't hard. Sorry, it wasn't easy. It was real tough. And let me say up front, had it not been for Article 16 of that collective agreement, I would not have entered politics as a candidate for South Central Windward. Even though the community were calling for me to go forward, I would not have done that had it not been for Article 16 of the collective agreement. So the end has come. I believe this is the end. We have won. It is time to celebrate, and we must celebrate. And again, thanks to all those who supported me during that time.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines is set to be making headway with UNESCO's Convention on Higher Education. Among other things, the draft document recognizes is that education is increasingly seen by governments as a major contributor to national wealth and economic development. Last Thursday, a cross-section of the Vincentian community got an opportunity to examine UNESCO's draft Convention on Higher Education through a forum hosted by the Accreditation Unit in the Ministry of Education. Chief Education Officer Acting Elizabeth Walker said there is need for all Vincentians and non-nationals who seek recognition and accreditation to meet the requirements of UNESCO's Convention of Higher Learning. She said statistics show that the number of Vincentians seeking recognition and accreditation continue to increase.
In 2015, some 674 persons sought the verification service offered by the unit. However, by 2018, 2,130 had done so. Whether for employment or higher education, the figures show that we too are slowly inching our way into the global higher education conversation. The brief for this conference informs, in part, that globally, academic mobility is sharply on the increase, with the overall population of mobile students doubling since 2002.
The draft convention to higher education was first discussed among UNESCO's experts last December, with a follow-up meeting scheduled for next month. UNESCO's General Secretary Janelle Henry Rose told participants to put their words to action to ensure SVG fulfills its obligations.
Some of the questions that I asked myself as I perused the document: who is considered a refugee according to the document? To me, that's not clear. Is it anyone who flee their country no matter the reason, including fleeing from an abusive spouse, or someone who takes up residence in another country under police protection? When is it appropriate for us to use shall be versus may be in these documents, or in this particular document? There is one thing though that glares at me, that we need national system powered by policies, proper implementation with ample human and financial capacity to ensure compliance to this convention.
Winston Papa Easton Lewis, a local musician and taxi driver who has been paying tribute to the late reggae icon Bob Marley over the past 29 years in commemoration of Marley's birthday, is now facing some problems using Bob Marley's songs because of copyright infringements. Lewis told SVG-TV News Today that he wanted to do a big tribute this year for Bob Marley's birthday, which is on the 6th of February. However, he is unable to do so because he's been asked to pay for a license in order to play or sing Bob Marley's songs.
This year. And I've been doing it all in Chicago, you know. I've sing alongside his sons, you know. I sing with the band, you know. They know what I do. They know why I'm doing it. And no one ever says to me, well, hey, you know, you need to have this, you need to have that, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. You know, whatever I was doing was welcome, and it was appreciative. So I want to know now why is the reason that in my country, people telling me I have to have a license to pay tribute to Bob Marley. And who are these people? These people have no connection with Bob Marley. Some of these people don't even know Bob Marley. You know what I mean? So what I have to say to you now, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is that I'm sorry that usually I have to be saying these things, but it's because of the problem, the stumbling block in the way. And for that, you know, black people always have, you know, a problem.
Lewis said the reason for his annual tribute to Marley is his way of keeping the reggae legend's legacy alive, and also to engender in the younger generation a love for reggae music.
Reggae music is really a spiritual war. I mean, Bob didn't just write these songs just for the sake of writing them. These songs are historical. These songs are very much positive. These songs come to pass, you know what I mean? These are awards that would come to pass for the people in the future, which is happening already. So I would say to you, reggae is a spiritual war. and is fighting peacefully. Maybe you won't know that, maybe you won't see that, but reggae music and Rasta, because if you don't fight with Rasta, you're not going to win this war. You have to win the war with Rasta. Because if you don't win with Rasta, you would have to fight again. And once you have to fight again, you would still have to fight again, you know?
During our interview with Lewis today, he used the opportunity to sing two of his favorite Bob Marley songs with two of his children by his side. Here's a snippet.
Yo, whoa, whoa, a black man redemption. Whoa, yo, yeah, yeah. No need, and no need to get jumpy. And no need, and no need to get bumpy. Woo, woo. No need, to get jumpy. Yes. No need, to get clappy. And you to little bit. We roll.